This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jabrukovsky, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome to the I Love Success podcast. I am super excited to have all your viewers, listeners here with us today. This is episode 251. If you haven't checked out episode 250, when I traveled to Seattle to meet with my childhood hero, Bruce Lee, please check that out. It was an incredible journey for me and a lifelong dream. And as you know, I don't only have martial artists on the show, but today I have a great martial artist, and there's been an incredible twist to his story in the last couple of weeks. And I mean, this guy has won a lot of tournaments, 6 times Pan American champion, I think 15-time national champion in the US, and a whole bunch of other medals. He's been fighting at the top for quite some years now, and a couple of weeks ago, he realized that he will not qualify for the Olympics, which was probably very tough. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But then I think a week ago, he got the invitation to actually go to the Olympics, which is incredible. And just imagine the roller coaster in his mind. First, not going. This is a childhood dream for everybody who doesn't know karate. This is the first time karate is an Olympic sport, and it's a dream that we all have. I competed for the Swedish national team for more than 10 years, and we always dreamt about the Olympics, but it never happened. But now it's there, and this guy get to go there. So without further ado, welcome Tom Scott to the I Love Success podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So a quick question for people who don't know you. When did you fall in love with martial arts and specifically karate?
Sure. So I started, it's funny, nobody starts karate because of the sport, right? Everyone starts because their parents want discipline, or they want confidence, or they want self-defense. And so, I started as an 8-year-old when my parents wanted me to build some confidence, but I quickly, the sport did capture my heart, a couple years right later. And I don't know, I think it was just maybe the individual sport aspect. I played all the team sports down here too. I played baseball, soccer, football, and through high school as well. But having control of the outcome and it being on me has always helped me, right? And so I enjoyed that aspect, and my teachers quickly became my heroes, and that was that.
Awesome. And how did doing other sports help you in karate, and how did karate help you in other sports?
Interesting. I mean, I know, so on like a small level, I know that in football, karate always helped me take a hit, right? Or, land on the ground and not get really hurt, so understanding how to hit the ground, how to take a hit, and survive a hit was definitely helpful. I think karate helped me there, and maybe the other sports helped me in karate by introducing just some of that competitiveness, wanting to be better than you were yesterday, and introduction to different coaching, different influences in my life. And also to realize how good my coaches were at the Academy of Classical Karate. So I think it's good to get a taste of multiple sports, and overall general athleticism as a kid, and coordination and stuff like that is good. So it probably helped me there.
Awesome. And looking at where you grew up and your club, did they had a track record of successful athletes in karate, or did you kind of lead the way there?
Actually, yeah, they did already. In the leagues that we were involved with, our small school, it was a small school at the time, but we moved here about 15 years ago or so, but before that, it was a small school in a different part of town, and we competed in the local leagues, that even actually had kind of different martial arts. You know, it was kind of karate and taekwondo and kind of whoever wanted to come along and play in these rules. And it was really only statewide. But our little school was dominant there. Um, I can remember growing up and watching my teachers compete and being excited about that, and then wanting to do that. And but they all always wanted more. You know, from Sensei Brody Burns, the owner and head coach, to the athletes at the time who were doing well. Everybody wanted more, so they looked for, you know, leagues that were more nationwide, that offered more, uh, that were harder, you know, more difficult. And we found our way from one league to another league, and eventually to USA Karate, and, you know, started competing international. And, you know, it's just been that's been the theme of the whole thing. We want more, you know, we've wanted more, compete against better. And it just hasn't stopped.
That's awesome, and I love that mindset. I think uh, in life in general, a lot of people fear more because there's that sense of maybe I'm a beginner again, and uh, I will look bad, and that will affect my confidence. So a lot of people stay in their own little shell. Can you just say, talk about like how what did you do and who helped you kind of having that mindset and daring to go out and actually challenge yourself against people that are better than you?
Yeah. Yeah, again, I mean, I would say that there were times my parents and family, Coach Brody Burns here, you know, all the instructors, you know, we've got a really good family environment here. And what I mean by is like the instructor core here is a bunch of the athletes that taught me when I was little, and you know, they all still teach here. They all still are very encouraging for me and even our littlest ones. Um, and I think it's just something we understand really well, just on a natural level, that when you're looking for more, and it's a process, you're going to get in over your head, and you're going to lose. You know, you're going to be, you know, maybe defeated, or whatever, and that's a part of it. You have to do that first before you can then dominate that level. And that's just kind of the theme over and over and over. You find the best, they might get you. Eventually, you're beating the best, and then you find a new level after that, and it's just kind of been constant, I guess.
Yeah. And let's talk about Tom as a younger athlete. When you did challenge yourself and when you did lose against these better fighters, how did you handle that? Were you hard on yourself, or how did you regroup and move forward?
Oh yeah, as a kid, you know, the teachers all they all love telling the stories about me crying at tournaments and not handling it well. And you know, so, but that's what it's good for kids, right? I mean, you have to get out there, you have to lose, you have to learn that. And so, no, I definitely did not do a good job as a kid. And then, you know, and then as an adult, it just has become a part of the formula that, you know, especially for Americans traveling to Europe, and it's a long trip and you have to do it frequently. And I grew up on some of those great events, the Dutch Open, you know, and you know, that has a near and dear place in my heart, because I would travel a long way, sometimes by myself, and maybe I fight one fight and lose, and I have to make the most of it. Like, I have to come away with something big, or else all that trip was for nothing. And so that became a part of our formula, you know. And I would, even if I got one match, boy, I would come back with analysis, improvements. I would cut this out, I would change. And so we were always evolving as an athlete, always evolving as a competitor. And then of course, in the inevitable happens. You go 2 rounds, you go 4 rounds, you medal, you win, you know, in you're finding those new guys. I remember it was a goal. It was like, okay, those are the guys I need to be, you know, I'm losing first round, second round. I need to be fighting those guys. And then eventually, a year or 2 years later, I'm fighting those guys in the fourth round, fifth round, medal matches. And it's just a part of the process. If you have the patience, if you can go through that grind, if you can lose and take it and move on, then that's, if you're in it for the long haul, then you can do it no matter what, I think.
I'm getting goosebumps because I know that journey. And especially like for people who don't know karate, most of the time a lot of the time you're traveling by yourself. If you're from a country where karate doesn't have that much money and push, you're probably investing most of the money yourself. And then you have this short window of time, right, to compete, and everybody's good at that level. So just being able to continue and grow, hats off to you, man. That's a big thing to do. And we all know at the competitions, for people who don't know karate, if you go to a competition like Dutch Open, it's like probably 60, 70 people in your division, and 20 of them have medal at a European or a world championship. So you're going to meet in the first or the second round, you're going to fight somebody that has medal at the highest level. And that is tough. And karate is such a sport that one little mistake and it's gone. Can we just talk about that? How have you been able to deal with that, which also makes karate so exciting, right? To be able to do as few mistakes as possible, but also being aggressive as a fighter instead of just defending.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of analysis on matches and stuff like that. And one of the fun things I always like to say is that, I conclude that there's going to be, on average, in any match, your opponent is going to make at least three mistakes, right? Like a missed kick, or they just got too close on accident, or they put their hands down and got relaxed too close. Those are mistakes on a high level, competition. And if your body and your mind is ready to capitalize and score points on mistakes, then it'd be like starting every match up 3 points, right? Because you don't have to do any thinking or planning for capitalizing a mistake. That's just automatic. They put their hands down, boom,
Yeah.
And so you have your thinking game over here, planning strategies, set up. But then also, if something happens, you have your reaction game at the same time, and it's a balance for both. Yeah, you got to have both of those. As far as making mistakes, boy, that's just part of being able to have the patience for long term. And I can go back and remember certain events that, I'll never do this or that again, because I learned after I did that, can't do that. So, and it takes a couple dozen events to burn in your mind that to remember mistakes that you want to change and things like that. So sometimes it just takes that.
It's things. Yeah. And I think we're talking about that. Like I've talked to a lot of athletes and people that want to play at the highest level in life. And most of them are actually bad losers in a way. They might not throw shit around and punch a hole through a wall, but they get very pissed off when they lose because they have disappointed themselves. And I actually think that might be a good thing. And that's something that actually drives you forward. So I'm curious, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's it all in good taste, right? I mean, if I've seen athletes too, like, lose their mind, and I'll remember it forever. And it's kind of one of those things you're like, you know,
Yeah.
they probably wish that athletes didn't see them do that, flip something or just absolutely lose it. And that's not what this is about. It's not what karate is about. Um, yeah, you can certainly still be disappointed and motivated to do more without being dramatic about it either, and a lot of athletes do it well, some athletes not so well, and so I don't know. I think mm, it's and each athlete's different. I'm definitely not the type to overreact. I'm just gonna kind of sit there and think about it and take it, and there's only one way through, and that's through. You
Yeah.
can't get around the sucky feelings of losing or not making it. But that's if you're you know depending on your walk in life, that sort of experience is just as valuable and can do great things for you if you're open to it. Otherwise, and I know several people too. I mean, this Olympic process has been wild, and crazy, and it has affected every athlete who's participated in it. And you know, if you're able to say that you gave it your all and it didn't work, then and you're proud of it, then that's good. But if it's a dangerous thing to ever blame others or be angry about it, because you could hold on to that for the rest of your life. And that was what happened to me when I did not make it. I did not qualify, and it was very bitter pill to swallow. But I have to do something good with it, or I'll be that guy that, oh, I almost made it, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to talk that way. I didn't want to think that way. And I didn't want to ever be bitter or jealous and I think it's very important how you deal with major wins and major losses, and for your insides and for other people.
No, I think you're absolutely correct, and I think you actually see a character of a human being when he or she loses, because anybody can win. It's not hard to be a winner, but to lose and to move forward with grace, that is pretty difficult. I
Yeah.
want to go back to you not making the Olympics, and I'm just gonna read. One of your posts from that time, because I think that was incredible, and then we can talk about that. So this is what you wrote after you knew that you were not going to the Olympics. This is June 15th. I think this was posted, and I'm just gonna read it here. I will not go to the Olympics. I asked him. I tried, but the answer was no. I actually qualified in two of the three phases, but lost in all three stages to bizarre events. One, I had it in the world ranking and I entered into a 3 month losing streak that gave it away. Two, Paris qualifier should have been a strong event for me, and despite showing up prepared, couldn't get it done. Three, I had it as the highest ranked Pan American male athlete, but my Olympic category was full when the continental inclusion came around. It's a crazy feeling to have been that close that many times. If the saying is, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, then hopefully losing my ticket 3 times can prove me that much stronger or wiser. I've learned anything from sport, it's that you never know how long it will take to get closure. And it may not be what you expect, but mine will come. And I pray I'm wise enough to recognize it that day. If this doesn't break me, then I'm pretty sure nothing will for the rest of my life. Therefore, that is what this one was meant for. I refuse to live in jealousy, and I will not give in to anger. I will not roll over. Congratulations to my Olympic opponents, a great group of gentlemen that I owe so much to. But when I see you next, bring your best game. And then you congratulate your teammates. And the last thing here is, I did not level up my game and my life for the Olympics. I level up because this is what I live to do. I'm not afraid of suffering. It will bring me closer to God if I let it. That is very, very much still exciting enough for me. So that's a great post, but let's break it down. So you're so close. You should have made the Olympics, right? In every single or you should have made it. You're one of the top athletes, and you should be there. But you're not, which happens to everybody all the time in life, right? People
Yeah.
should be there, and they're not. The problem with the Olympics, and especially karate and the Olympics, is that this is probably a once in a lifetime event. Who even knows if it will be karate in the next Olympics, right? I don't know if that's decided yet or not, but probably not. So what's going through your mind? Like, this is the one thing that every karate athlete that is a competitor are dreaming of, and you're so close at three occasions. At Just walk me through that emotion and those feelings you have at that time.
Sure. I mean, going back to a year ago with the ranking, I think, I was qualified, or I was in the fourth spot for ranking, and I needed to perform reasonably well to maintain. It's a tight race with the next athlete, and but I need to win some rounds. I need to be in medal matches, but I've done that now. I can do that, and I had done that on average. You know, just my averages over the last 10 years or so, because but all of a sudden I went back to those feelings like we talked about at the Dutch Opens, where I was going out first round for three events in a row, in Paris, and then also in Austria, and I can't even remember. I'm blocking it out because I did not want to remember it anymore. But
Yeah.
another, whatever the third one wasn't, and it was not a good feeling. Oh, Dubai. It was in Dubai. So long trips, and but each time you're thinking, it's a hard mental space because you can't think, oh no, this is happening. You have to, um, you know, you have to just be focused on the task at hand. And that's just, it's a good example of what other outside influences can do to you, to an athlete. And so all athletes, old and young, should be aware that if the task at hand is to win a match, right? Thinking about the Olympics, thinking about the medal, thinking about what it would mean, this or that, does not help you win the match. It can help it can help motivate you in a workout 2 weeks before, that sort of thinking. Oh, the Olympics, awesome, I'm going to work out really hard. But when you're in the match, literally, you have to bring it so back down to the beginning: kicking, punching, moving, and you and your opponent. That's it. As soon as you start thinking about things that are outside, it will slow you down. It will put pressure on you. You'll make mistakes, and people are ready to capitalize on mistakes. So it's just and it's a funny example. Like, you have to want to beat this person in front of you more than you have to want the medal.
Yeah.
Right? You have to want to play your sport more than you want the outcome. And that was hard. That's always been hard for me. Sometimes I want to be this champion that doesn't put in the hard work, or that doesn't have to beat this guy over here. And it's a constant battle. It's the same 8-year-old kid that joined for confidence, and it's always evolving. And that's something I've learned lately too, is that it's not about reaching a certain space and being there forever. Like, oh, I've made it. And it's a constant cycle forever. You're always trying to maintain a mindset or improve a mindset. And even once you have it, 1 second, you have to work to keep it or to make a new level, or else it'll come back. You'll make mistakes you made 10 years ago or stuff like that. So, I mean, that was kind of what I had to learn in that first phase. But it's a wild thing to think about that. And for me, the COVID break actually, really was good for me, because I was in the middle of all this pressure and it was not going well. And I got to train for a year with no tournaments. I'm not preparing for anything, but I'm just doing karate out here with my friends because I like it. And that was huge. And I did enjoy that. And it put me in a great space, recently. And I felt like my practices and tournaments have been exactly where I want them to be. And Paris, I still even feel like, even though I lost, I still feel like I did great. I did exactly some of the things I wanted to do. And, so that's what blew my mind in Paris, was that I'm sitting there with my coach afterward. We just lost. And I'm like, I almost don't even feel bad. If I had made a mistake, if I had, blew it, but I feel great. I feel in shape. I fought hard. I was thinking. I was open. I did some cool, tricky things. I'm very confused. I'm like, how did this not go better? Yeah. So that was Paris, but we knew about the continental wildcards for years. We knew that that was not going to be in for me, and so I was never focused on that. I tried to, stay focused on the ranking and stay focused on Paris, and because even despite being the highest ranked or the Pan American Games champion, we knew that wasn't going to work because everybody's first choice was minus 75 guys. And by the time, so that was just kind of a weird thing about it.
And speaking of that, do you think it got into your head during the other qualifying tournaments that you're already there and now you just had to keep your position instead of moving forward?
For
Did that
sure.
affect the performance?
Yeah, I mean, I can admit that. I mean, I feel like it was definitely influencing me, and I was feeling pressure, you know, in my matches and just not thinking straight. Yeah,
I think that's the hardest part when you reach a certain level, because when you start competing, especially if you're pretty good, you're playful, right? And then now this is like once in a lifetime. So it's almost like my father always tells me the story, and he's my sensei, like with the sand in your hand. If you grasp too tight, you lose it. If it's too loose, it will lose it. You have to find that balance between, playfulness and focus, which is sometimes really hard when you're at the top of your game. So I'm glad you got that back. How are you dealing with that now? Like staying playful when it's high pressure?
yeah. I mean, well, for one, I really am trying to maintain this mindset. It's a balance. I like that I get to say, I'm in this position. I have nothing to lose. Like
Yeah,
I wasn't in it, and now I am, and I can be playful, and I can put it all out there, and no matter what happens, I'm going to enjoy this experience.
yeah,
But I do want it, and I do want to do it right and do it well, and that's just a right to me. That's that right balance. I can take both positions. If I had qualified in my own right in the ranking, for example, then there might be pressure still.
yeah,
And now looking back, I mean, this is just such a crazy fun story. I wouldn't have it any other way. I prefer this way. I prefer the hard way and the dramatic way. And so I think I'm fighting. I'm definitely fighting that way. I feel great. I'm definitely in the best shape that in my life, that I've ever been, and thanks to a whole team of people and coaches, and so I think just gratitude helps me when I'm thankful for this experience. I'm thankful for fighting well, and I'm feeling it. Then that keeps me playful, and that keeps me competitive, and not thinking about have to do this or want to do that.
yeah. And can you just walk us through that moment when you realize that you're not going to the Olympics, and the couple of days, what's going on in your mind, and like how did you deal with that, and how long did it take for you to come to peace with it, or did you come to peace with it?
Yeah, I mean, I was determined to come to peace with it fast, and I recognized that it was going to be a process. You can post what I could, I did a post not but a couple days or whatever after, and it's not, but that doesn't, even whatever you say there, you still have to live up to it. You still have to um, try. Again, it's not all said and done. Um, and and so I mean, there was definitely going to be people were trying to help me mourn, and they said, even though I was kind of still holding on inside a little bit for a weird reason, and um, but but for me, and very important is you have to know why you do all of this, especially if you're going to go through hell or something like that. You have to have to your core know why you're doing it. If you're just doing it for you, then maybe I've always disappointed I would have disappointed myself, or it would have been a big failure, and not the hard work and the self betterment that it really was. And that's where I'm lucky that as a karate student first, well, particularly as a Christian first, then a karate student, and then also as an athlete, every area of my life demands self betterment, right? Improvement, and being stagnant or plateauing is the enemy, right? So even in a huge defeat or something, I have to make a purpose of it. I have to come away better from it, even just like it was, my first Dutch Open or something like that. I would have, and I feel I have. So you can grant any moment the purpose that you want it to be. You can make anything of it. So I made it the moment that I just was going to depend more on God. And I had been asking him as of late a lot to help me rely on him more. And the more that I do that, the more that the more wild it gets. So it's coming to a point where I just even can't help it. And in talking about it, or um, in just recognizing the strangeness of some of it too. And
Yeah.
so for me, that's what it was. It was just depend on God and let him take me where he needs me to be, um, and continue that self-betterment process.
Thank you for sharing that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. First, I want to ask you, I don't know if you read the new book with Tim Grover called Winning. Um, he was the coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe, and incredible book. And he speaks about when you lose or when you get knocked out, that everybody say bounce right back up, but his opinion is no, I'm going to stay down for a while and contemplate, and then I'm going to bounce back to be better. uh, what's your thought on that, and how was that process for you?
Yeah, well, it depends on how much time you have.
Yeah.
Can you take the 8 count,
Yeah.
or do you need to bounce right back up? And that's what some of the things about our sport, right? I mean, in a karate match, like you said yourself, it is so fast that you can't be hard on yourself. If you get scored on, you only have a minute left, and you have to bounce right back. And then at the same time, if you lose and you have weeks before the next event, it's keeping everything in proper perspective and bouncing back at the right moment. I think is what we're touching on, is that you know yeah, bounce right back up too early, and you haven't learned anything. Stay down too long and you're just being dramatic. So yeah, I think you're right. It's depending on the situation, that you got to bounce back at the right time.
Yeah, and I think as a martial artist, the whole thing with adapting and overcoming is one of our best skills, right? And that's something that most people that have done martial art, they see a lot of great things in their life when it comes to family, professional career, and so on, because they have that ability, or sanshin, that we talk about in karate, the awareness of life, and they can see things differently. And it's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't trained martial arts, but it's just that kind of feeling. I want to talk about letting go, and your belief. And I think for many people, we there's people that are letting go completely and are not doing the work, and then there are people like they're doing the work and then let the results come as they go, and then there's people that are trying to hold on to that. uh, how have you been in your life, and how have this journey helped you understanding that if I do the work and stay out of the results, there are powerful forces that will help me?
Well, and sometimes, I mean, uh, again, it's a learning process, right? And the answer might be different one day than the next, or in certain circumstances. And um, but there's definitely a balance. And you're right. You can't just claim that God's going to give this to me, and not be working for it. And so my mom even told me, a couple days ago, like, you got to train like it's all in your control, and then you got to compete like it's out of your hands, and in God's hands. And I think that's true. You do your preparation, and then for me specifically, I have to give up the results. Like, if the medals look cool, or what it would mean to beat this person, that person, I have to give that up. And then that kind of sets me free to go and play, and do my game. But I think I picture it a lot as a parent. If God is your father, and then He's going to raise you, and I'm not a parent yet,
Yeah.
but I can imagine that there are times where you say no, and there are times where you say wait, and there are times where you say yes, and there's, and it's and and we have to learn. For me, prayer is my soundboard. If I am bouncing an idea off the wall, it's important for us to hear ourselves, to know what we want in our heart. Of course, He already knows that, but for us to hear it ourselves, and for us to learn, do I ask for victory? Do I ask for the strength and the tools to get it done, but not ask for victory? And I've done it all, right? And I've had good days and bad days with all of it. And I think that's just a part of that learning process. And um, and being raised like a child. So it's, uh, um, still learning,
Yeah.
still searching that answer.
That's awesome. And let's talk about how did you find out that you're going to the Olympics? The dream is dead. You don't know if you're ever going to compete in the Olympics again. Like how at that point when you knew you're not going to the Olympics, did you ever contemplate quitting competition at all, or this was just another roadblock for you?
No, I mean, like in the post, just like I said, I was doing this because I liked it long before we were Olympic. I still have goals inside my sport, world championship stuff, outside of the Olympics. I still have goals and I still like it. And this was never a do or die thing for me. Again, I think that, different people in different circumstances. For me, I have everything I need here and the lifestyle to still do this if I wanted. And it would be, sad if I decided not to, because I have everything and I enjoy it too much still. But so that wasn't on my mind at all. We have the World Championships this fall. There's the World Games next year, which is going to be fun. Um, and uh, but let's see. I kind of maybe had caught wind of rumor a couple days before it was official. And so, I mean, that was wild too. I had athletes or people kind of around the world, and there were articles. There were articles on BBC and stuff that were talking about this, which is surprising because I thought it should be very private information.
Yeah.
But I found out Friday morning. In fact, when I woke up, my wife and I woke up for the workday, and I had a text waiting for me from the CEO of USA Karate, Phil Hampel, who had worked up all night. Like he had stayed up all night to do the paperwork between the WKF in Spain. It was morning time, middle of the night in the United States, evening time in Tokyo, where the USOPC was, where this important paperwork had to get done. And he stayed up all night to do that. And then he texted me, and I woke up to that text, and he was like, "It's done. It's, go to sleep, relax." It was a very encouraging text. It was amazing. His excitement was, I could feel it. And then he did give me a call too. And then it went on Facebook and Instagram. And so I think, I like to say that I was the first person to know officially, and besides him, of course. And it was cool.
I bet. And how uh, you spoke about in another post where you're saying now you get qualified, that you have nothing to lose, and that's dangerous. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, because again, the pressure, right? The expectation is can be pressure, and when there's no pressure, um, and just joy, especially at an event like this where it's a celebration of athleticism. It's supposed to bring the world together. It's you know and no one's been on this stage. Yeah, you catch some of these athletes in a medal match at a world championship where they've been dominant for years, but no one has been to the Olympics. Not a single one of these karate athletes has been there. So it is an even playing field. It's wide open. So I'm looking at it that way. I'm enjoying thinking about it that way, and I do think I'm dangerous right now. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. And have you competed in the Nippon Budokan before?
Yeah, I have a great story actually. When I was 18 years old, I got to be in the uh, seventh man on Team Kumite for the World Championships that were in Tokyo in
Oh,
2008.
I was there too.
Yeah,
I was
nice. Yeah,
18 at that time. Oh my god. Yeah.
yeah. I had just turned 18, and I actually, it was incredible tournament to see, and I got to train with John Fonseca and George Kotaka and all my heroes on the USA Karate team at the time, and um, but I didn't get to compete. At the end of the day, I never got the chance to step out, even though Team USA they were going. We were going. We won like 3 or 4 rounds in Team Kumite, and I didn't get to do it. I was so, I was young too, and I was like upset and very sad. And it was not till years later that I actually, when we made the Olympics and we found out it was the Budokan, it was like quite a story that I might get to compete and finally get to compete in the arena. And I did when there was a Karate One there in 2019. And I went out there and I felt great. Lost to Ken Nishimura there, but I was looking good. And anyway, I think this to me will be the event where I, in my heart, say I got to compete at the Nippon Budokan.
Yeah, it's a great arena, and um, probably gonna be great audience as well.
Of 0 people.
Oh my God. So what else do you want to share about mindset? And I know you have practice soon. Thank you for doing this. And
Oh,
I
of course.
guys are probably showing up now. So uh, let's talk about mindset for a couple of minutes, and then I'll let you go. What do you want to say to people out there that are struggling with their mindset? And I think we touched on it before when you didn't make the Olympics. You said I'm not going to blame or be jealous. I take responsibility. And that's something that has changed my life, to always be responsible for what happens, because then I can move on and change. But for people out there that have their struggle with their mindset, they're doing good, but there's something blocking them from, getting where they really want to be.
I think, and everybody might be a little bit different. And so what's important would be finding, what works for you. Right. And a lot of that's going to be trial and error. And a lot of that is going to be found out, again, for me, over 10 years now at the highest level, international, with the WKF. It's taken 10 years and I'm still a work in progress. It's not, so I think, again, if an athlete thinks like this works right now, it might, and it might evolve, or it might change. Some athletes want to get pumped up and fired up. And for me, I'm a little bit more, I might need some of that sometimes, but I'm generally more calm. My coach and I like to laugh in staging, and we like to crack jokes and appreciate our time together. It, finding what works for you is important. And again, you only ever find that out if you're taking notes. If you go to the tournament and you have to do like a paragraph on, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm preparing. Then after the results, you do a post, what you thought, what you think worked, what didn't work. And then you try it again, and you try it again, and you try it again, and it evolves. So, but if you go to the tournament and then you leave without thinking about what happened and how you prepared for it, it's lost potential, lost data that you can improve your game with, which, not just, punches and kicks, but very important, your mindset. And that takes honing, that takes effort. So writing it down, taking notes, and finding out what works for you is important. But again, I think one thing that translates to everybody is when you're focused on what's not relevant for, scoring a point, that's not going to help you score a point. So literally when you're in the ring, it has to be, I've heard it really well, keep your mind close to your body. So the only things that matter are what's within reach, hydration, my sleep, my warm up, my techniques, my body. So if I'm thinking about a medal over there, mom and dad in the stands over there, none of those matter. The dojo back home, it has to be just what's in your reach. Keep your mind close to your body.
Yeah, I think that's really really important lesson, especially for people that are starting to gain success in their life in different areas. It could be financial, it could be winning medals. You still have to go back to the drawing board and be right here. And that's why I always love to study people that are on their way up, because that a lot of times their habits when they're on their way up is actually much stronger and better when you're already successful, for many, because you have that drive and doing the things that other people won't. And the better you become, a lot of people get a little bit comfortable, which sometimes can affect the results, right?
Yeah.
Do you write down your goals?
I sure do. Yep. I've had journals for the last 10 years. So now I'm on like my third or fourth book, I guess. Um, and so again, every tournament that comes around, I take pre notes, what I've been working on, things I want to do, small goals. I want to try and pull off this particular kick.
Yeah.
Um, and then the event happens, I record the results, and I also talk about where I think I should go from there. At the beginning of every year, I have a list of all the tournaments I'm going to do. I have a theme. Usually I give each year a theme in my mind to stick with. This year's theme is attitude. So, it's all about just attitude for me. That I can control. I may not be able to control a judge's flag, but I can control my attitude. And so it's very important to set yourself up for short goals, day to day, long goals, year to year, and some goals, uh, 4-year cycles. I'm definitely used to that. The next Pan American Games, the next Olympics, things like that is. So you have, and then some lifetime goals that you have to be very thoughtful about. So yeah, you definitely have goals, small, specific, or large and grand, and it's all a part of it.
I think that a lot of people out there can learn a lot from athletes because athletes, you guys know exactly what to do almost by the hour, right? Now you have a practice, now it's the next thing. And those are activity goals, like things that you're doing to get the end result. I think if you're listening to this and you've struggled with your goals, ask yourself, are they only results? Are you only writing down the result, or are you actually writing down the activities that you need to do to get there? Just like Tom said, go back to what's close to you and what needs to be done next. Final question before I let you go. For people out there that have a big dream, a big goal, just like you, what's the first thing they should do right after this show?
Hmm. Well, if you want my take on it, I would say include God in your plans. Ask Him, or just contemplate it with someone outside yourself, right? Because if you hold on to the dream just by yourself, it can, it could be poisonous. It could you could dwell on it. You could, but if you include other people
Yeah.
and someone you can always include and is always ready to listen, that will help.
That's awesome. And for people that fear of sharing because they fear of getting hurt, and if they share something, what do you want to say to them?
This is our human condition, right? It's not meant to be solo. It's not meant to be a solo act. At the end of the day, if I had qualified for the Olympic Games all by myself, I'd have no one to share it with. And that's just as sad. So it's important. Being human is involving other people around you, and it's way more joyful and it's way more supportive if you don't reach it. Going through sorrow together is beautiful in its own right. Going through victory together is absolutely amazing. So include other people, and besides, they're going to make it easier for you. They're going to, your strength and conditioning coach does all of that for you. Your sensei plans out all of this for you. These other people, when you have a good team, that's how you get stuff done.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom Scott, for being on the I Love Success podcast. I really appreciate you and your time.
I really am thankful for being able to reflect on this stuff. I always love opportunities like this, so I appreciate you reaching out, and then also, the questions, reading that old post. My gosh, it just helps me reflect and now go have a good practice. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. And if you guys want to follow Tom Scott and his journey to the Olympics, check him out at Tom Scott 75 on Instagram. If you like this show and you enjoyed our conversation, please share it with somebody that needs to hear this message. My goal is to help at least 10 million people in 10 years to go after their dreams. But right now, if you're listening to this, you are the most important person to me. But if you just listen to this and go about your life, I think it's a little bit not what I'm trying to do. So if you find something valuable here, make some notes and try to make one small little change in your life to improve yourself. I've been so blessed, 250 people that I've been able to meet with, and I always learn something from everyone. And I see I see the growth in my own life, and it's just been incredible thanks to all these people. So thanks again. Check out the show at I Love Success Podcast on any platform. You have my name, Peter Jumrukovsky, on Instagram and YouTube. That's it for today. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.